right, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at identifying special quadrilaterals. Now, I think one of the best ways to identify the quadrilaterals and figure out where they fit is to make a family tree. So I did one right here. Quadrilaterals, what is the only thing a quadrilateral has to have? Four sides. So I might put next to here 4. Okay. Then we split them into 3 parts. Let me see one more. 3 parts. We've got parallelograms. Okay, and you could list all the things that a parallelogram has next to it. You could have something like 2 sets of parallel sides. You can have things like the diagonals bisect each other, all that stuff. You might want to make it bigger so you can have all this on your notes for when you take the quiz. That might be something you want to work on today. We've got trapezoids, which only has 1 pair of parallel sides, that kind of thing. What is the third one that's not up here that we need? Okay. All right. Now, parallelogram has 2 bases. It has 2 bases. It has a rectangle. I'll come back. It has a rectangle and a round. Okay. Rectangles have 4 right angles. Okay. It has some other special stuff about it. Rhombuses have 4 congruent sides. Then it got really gross. Rectangle and rhombus had a baby, and then a square. It has 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. Okay. The trapezoid only had 1 baby. It had an isosceles trapezoid. Osmosis. Okay. So we have a trapezoid. Okay. An isosceles trapezoid is special because the base angles are congruent and the legs are congruent. So if I were you, I might take out a separate sheet of paper, draw this diagram, but draw it big enough so you can list all the things on the sides of what they have. So it's kind of like listing the postulates and theorems, but I think this visual way might be easier for you guys to be like, okay, what am I looking at? All right, now if I asked you all the names you could name a square, what other things would you call this square? This square is also a what? And a rectangle. It's also a, and it's also a, okay? Does that make sense? So, what's a kite? That's the only thing, right? Okay. So if I say a rectangle is a parallelogram and a quadrilateral.
What is that? 2 sets? Is that 4 sides?
2 sets of parallel sides. It made the connection between them. I don't know why. Okay, so do I have any questions about my quadrilateral family tree? Okay, if you want me to look at yours and say, oh, you forgot this, you need this added, please ask. You can do that. All right. Determine whether the quadrilateral is a trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, or square. Okay, well, let's think about these special things. So I'm looking at it, well, I know it's a quadrilateral. That's a good one. It's got 4 sides. Now, if I'm looking backwards, I can pretty much tell it's not a square because it doesn't tell me that my outsides are congruent to each other. And it doesn't tell me it's got 90-degree angles. So I know it can't be a square, rectangle, or rhombus. It does show that the diagonals bisect each other. So what can it be? Parallelogram. Right, all quadrilaterals are parallel. All parallelograms are quadrilaterals. Okay, not all quadrilaterals are parallel. Other way around. Quadrilaterals the mommy, and I had the parallel. Okay. It's with osmosis, so it's both. Okay. So if a cell reproduces a cell, it just breaks into 2 pieces. There's no other cell. Okay. So it's kind of like that. Are you given enough information in the diagram to conclude that ABCD is a square? Explain your reasoning. What am I missing? Right angle. So this could be what two shapes? It could also be a rhombus. A rhombus or a square. To know for sure it's a square, we would have to know the angles.
What right angle?
Yeah, you can write for it. Pretty easy? Right, let's look on example 3, identifying a trapezoid. Are we given enough information in the diagram to conclude that it is an isosceles trapezoid? So what's special about an isosceles trapezoid?
Base angles are equal.
We know that these two sides are congruent.
And they are.
Do I have two sets of congruent base angles? Yes. So it is an isosceles trapezoid. Both sets of base angles are congruent. All right, let's look through the homework real quick just to make sure they didn't give you anything that was more difficult than this that you might want me to explain. So we're looking at page 554. Problems 4 through 26. Okay, 4. You're just going through and saying both pairs of the opposite sides are congruent. Which ones are those? That's what you're doing for 6, 8, and 10. So you should have all the postulates and theorems. You might want to make your family tree, your quadrilateral family tree. 12, you shouldn't be bad. 14, 16 shouldn't be bad. 18, you've got to know about the diagonals. 20, 22, you're going to have to plot the points and then figure out slopes and things like that to figure it out, as well as 24. And you had to do 26. 26, which pair of segments or angles would be congruent so that you can prove that ABCD is the indicated quadrilateral? Explain. So I want more than just like a one-word answer for 26. I want a little explanation. Okay, so this shouldn't be too bad. I am going to read to you first, though, before I let you start on your homework.